When someone leaves your life, it's tempting to think the hardest part is over. But often, the real battle begins after the goodbye. He may not be there anymore, yet somehow he lingers in your thoughts, in your memories, in the little triggers that bring his face back when you least expect it. And that's where people get stuck. They think moving on is just about physical distance, when in reality, the true power comes from erasing him emotionally. Not with hate, not with bitterness, but with absolute clarity that he no longer deserves space in your heart or your mind. Because freedom isn't just about losing someone, it's about choosing not to carry them with you. And the moment you commit to erasing him completely is the moment you step back into your power, lighter, stronger, and finally free to live without looking over your shoulder. He may no longer be in your life, but that doesn't mean he's truly gone. Because even after the breakup, even after the last conversation, even after the final message was sent, he can still live in your head rent-free. That's the part most people overlook. They think distance alone will heal them, but the truth is, emotional residue has a way of clinging on long after someone exits your physical world. It shows up in the quiet moments when your mind replays old conversations, when you scroll through photos in your head, when you find yourself thinking about what you could have said differently, or how things might have turned out if he had just chosen differently. That residue keeps you tied to him, even if you haven't seen him in weeks or months. And if you don't cut it, you end up carrying him everywhere you go. The mind loves to run highlight reels of relationships. You remember the laughs, the late night talks, the way he made you feel in the best moments. It's human nature to glorify the good parts, especially when the reality of the bad is too painful to face. But that's the trap, because by replaying only the highlights, you trick yourself into believing you lost something perfect, when in reality, if it was perfect, you wouldn't be here right now. The relationship ended for a reason, but emotional residue blinds you to that reason. It makes you cling to a version of him that never truly existed, an edited cut of the story instead of the raw footage. And as long as you hold on to that, you can't move forward. Cutting emotional residue is not about pretending the relationship never happened. It's about refusing to let your mind romanticize what was never fully right for you. It's about catching yourself in the moment when you're daydreaming about him and saying, no, that chapter is over. It's about noticing when a song brings his face to mind and choosing to turn it off instead of indulging the nostalgia. It's about interrupting the mental loops that keep you stuck. Healing doesn't come from rehearsing the past. It comes from refusing to keep playing the same old story. And here's the truth. The more you feed those thoughts, the stronger they become. Every time you let yourself drift into the fantasy of us, you reinforce the neural pathways that keep him alive in your mind. That's why it feels so hard to move on, because you're unintentionally keeping him present through repetition. The way to break that cycle is to starve it. Stop giving those thoughts oxygen. When they come up, don't entertain them, don't analyze them, don't feed them with more questions. Just notice, let go, and redirect. Every time you do that, you weaken the hold he has on you. Think of emotional residue like smoke after a fire. The fire is out, but the smell lingers in the walls, in your clothes, in the air. You can't just ignore it. You have to actively air it out, clean it, scrub it away. Otherwise, you'll keep breathing it in long after the flames are gone. That's what emotional residue is, the lingering scent of a relationship that no longer exists. And just like with smoke, the only way to truly get rid of it is to cleanse your space, both your physical space and your mental space. So cut the residue, stop replaying the highlight reel, stop romanticizing a story that already ended, stop carrying him in your thoughts as if he still deserves to live there. The moment you take away the power of those lingering memories, you finally free yourself. And that's when he's not just out of your life physically, but truly erased from your heart and mind. When someone leaves your life, The hardest ties to cut are often not the emotional ones, but the physical reminders that keep his presence alive. A photo on your phone, a sweater he left behind, an old message thread, a song you both loved. These things are not innocent little keepsakes. They are anchors. Every time you stumble across one, it reopens the door you're trying so hard to close. And the truth is, you can't fully erase someone if you keep surrounding yourself with artifacts of their memory. If he's out of your life, then he needs to be out of your space too. We underestimate how much influence our environment has on our healing. You can decide in your mind that you're done, that you're moving forward, that you won't think about him anymore. But then you open a drawer and find a note he once wrote you. You scroll through your gallery and see a picture of the two of you laughing together. You put on a playlist, and suddenly the song that used to be yours is playing, throwing you back to a moment that doesn't exist anymore. These reminders undo your progress, not because they're inherently powerful, but because they give your brain a trigger, a quick portal back to a place you don't belong. And healing becomes almost impossible if you keep walking through those portals over and over again. That's why removing reminders is such a crucial step. It's not about being dramatic. It's not about pretending the relationship never existed. It's about protecting your peace. If seeing that picture causes you pain, then why keep it? If holding onto his hoodie makes you feel comforted in the short term, but wrecked in the long term, then why let it stay in your closet? There's no strength in keeping souvenirs of someone who broke your heart. Strength is in creating an environment where your heart can finally breathe again without being ambushed by the past. Some people tell themselves they're just not ready to get rid of those reminders. They think keeping them is harmless, that one day they'll look back fondly without pain. But here's the truth. You won't get to that place of peace by clinging to what hurts you right now. You get there by letting go, by releasing what ties you to the wound so it can finally heal. The box of letters doesn't make you strong, throwing it out does. The saved messages don't make you nostalgic, they keep you stuck. And if you're serious about erasing him completely, then you have to act like it. That means cleaning house, both physically and digitally. Start with the obvious. Delete the photos, remove the messages, put away or give away the things that belong to him. Then go deeper. Unfollow the playlists, change your wallpaper, move furniture if you need to so your space feels new again. Each action is like telling your brain, this is no longer his space, this is mine again. It's reclaiming your environment as a reflection of who you are now, not who you were when he was around. And yes, it's going to feel hard. It may even feel brutal. You'll hesitate when you hover over the delete button. You'll second guess whether you should throw that gift away, but ask yourself, what is more important, holding onto the past or creating space for your future? Because you can't have both. Every reminder you keep is a thread tying you back to him, and as long as those threads exist, you'll never be fully free. So be ruthless in your letting go. Don't keep the just-in-case items. Don't make excuses for holding onto things that are secretly keeping you stuck. You don't need reminders of someone who already showed you that they don't deserve a place in your present. The moment you let go of the things he left behind, you let go of the version of yourself that kept waiting for him to matter again. And that's when you finally start to live without the shadow of his memory following you everywhere you go. Social media has become the back door we leave open for people we're supposed to be done with. It's where curiosity sneaks in, where late night scrolling drags you back into a world you promised yourself you left behind. You tell yourself it's harmless, just a quick look at his profile, just one glance to see what he's posting, who he's with, how he's living without you. But that one glance turns into a cycle. You keep checking, you keep comparing, and without realizing it, you're feeding the very connection you're trying to break. If he's out of your life, then the digital doorway has to be shut. Because no matter how strong you feel in the moment, social media has the power to reopen wounds that were starting to heal. The problem with social media is that it's rarely the truth. People curate their lives, showing the best moments, the happiest smiles, the most glamorous highlights. And when you look at his feed, you're not seeing reality, you're seeing the version of reality he wants you to see. But your mind doesn't separate that. It takes the image and compares it to your pain, making you feel like you lost, like you weren't enough, like he's thriving while you're struggling. It's torture by illusion, and the only way to break free is to remove access altogether. Unfollowing or blocking isn't weakness, it's strength. It's not about being bitter, it's about being smart. Because every time you see his face, every time his name pops up, every time you stumble across her tagged in his photos, you take yourself 2 steps backward. Healing requires momentum, and momentum only comes when you stop sabotaging yourself with triggers. Protecting your peace is more important than protecting your pride. You don't need to prove to anyone, least of all him, that you're strong enough to keep watching. Real strength is knowing when to walk away and never look back, even digitally. Some people keep the door open because, deep down, they want him to see them too. They hope he'll notice their new pictures, their new life, their glow up. But here's the catch: when you make your healing about showing him what he's missing, you're still centering him in your story. You're still giving him the power. The real glow up isn't posting pictures for his attention. It's living a life so full that you don't care if he sees it or not. And you can't get there until you shut the digital doorway completely. It may feel extreme at first. You might hesitate to hit that unfollow button. You'll wonder if it makes you look petty, if it makes you look like you care too much. But let's flip that. Isn't it more powerful to say, I don't need access to your world because I'm too busy building my own? Isn't it more empowering to remove the temptation altogether, to eliminate the chance of falling into late night comparisons or unnecessary pain? Blocking isn't about him, it's about you. It's about creating an environment where your energy is protected, where your focus is on your healing, not on watching someone else's carefully staged life. And here's the truth: the moment you cut that digital tie, the obsession starts to fade. Out of sight really does become out of mind when you stop feeding the habit. The silence of not knowing is uncomfortable at first, but then it becomes liberating. You no longer have to analyze his smile, decode his captions, or wonder who that person in his comments is. You free yourself from the mental games entirely, so if you're serious about erasing him completely, close the doorway. Stop lurking, stop checking, stop leaving the window cracked open, lock it, shut it, and walk away. Because the less you see of him, the more room you create to see yourself. And that's when healing finally has the space to do its work. One of the hardest parts about letting someone go is realizing how much of your identity you may have unknowingly tied to them. You start to think of yourself as half of a pear instead of a whole person. You define your worth by how they saw you, how they treated you, how they validated you. And when they're gone, it can feel like a part of you has been ripped away. That's why detaching his narrative from your identity is so crucial. Because he was never the author of your story, he was just a character in it, a chapter, not the whole book. And once that chapter closes, you have the power to decide what the next one looks like, without him holding the pen. When you stay tied to his narrative, you fall into the trap of believing that your value depends on him, whether he chose you, whether he stayed, whether he treated you right. But your worth existed before he ever showed up, and it will exist long after he's gone. The mistake people make is letting a failed relationship rewrite the way they see themselves. They start to internalize his choices as proof of their inadequacy. He left me, so maybe I wasn't enough. He chose someone else, so maybe I was replaceable. That's not truth. That's a distorted story. And as long as you let his actions define you, you'll keep living in a version of reality that was never accurate. Detaching means drawing a clear line between who you are and how he treated you. Just because he couldn't see your value doesn't mean it wasn't there. Just because he didn't choose you doesn't mean you weren't worth choosing. His decisions were a reflection of him, his insecurities, his limitations, his blind spots. But none of that belongs to you. You don't carry his narrative into your life. You return it to him and walk away with your own intact. Think of it like this. If someone picked up a priceless painting and dismissed it as worthless, does that suddenly strip the painting of its beauty, its history, its value? Of course not. The painting remains just as valuable. It's the person who failed to recognize it who reveals their lack of perception. That's exactly how it works with people. Your worth is not measured by who recognizes it. It simply is. And detaching from his narrative means reminding yourself of that truth daily until you believe it again. This also means rewriting the way you tell the story to yourself. Instead of saying, "He left me because I wasn't enough," you shift it to, "He left because he wasn't capable of giving me what I deserved." Instead of saying, "I failed," you say, "I learned, I grew, and I won't settle again." The story you repeat to yourself becomes the identity you carry. If you keep replaying his version, you'll keep shrinking. If you claim your own, you'll start expanding into the person you were always meant to be. Detaching from his narrative also frees you from chasing closure from him. You don't need him to validate your worth, apologize for what he did, or explain why he left. None of that changes who you are. The closure you're looking for comes from within, from deciding that his perspective is irrelevant to your identity. Because once you stop seeking answers in his story, you start creating answers in your own. And here's the most powerful part. When you detach his narrative from your identity, you stop giving him the power to define your future. He's no longer the lens through which you see yourself. You stop comparing yourself to the person he's with now. You stop measuring your success by whether or not he regrets losing you. Instead, you start living for you. You reclaim your independence, your confidence, your voice. And when you build a life on that foundation, there's no room for regret, not yours and not his. He wasn't the author of your story. He was just a supporting role in a chapter that's already ended. The pen has always been in your hands, and the moment you take it back, you realize his narrative doesn't matter anymore because you've started writing a new one where he doesn't even exist. Healing isn't just about cutting ties. It's about redirecting the energy you once poured into him and channeling it into yourself. When someone takes up space in your life, you naturally invest in them, your time, your emotions, your thoughts, even your future plans. You give energy in the form of love, care, attention, and compromise. But when that person is gone, all of that energy doesn't just vanish. It sits there waiting for you to decide where to put it next. And that's where most people get stuck instead of redirecting it. They keep funneling it back into thoughts of him, replaying memories, stalking social media, analyzing what went wrong. That energy becomes wasted fuel, burning you out without moving you forward. The key is to take all of it and reinvest it into your own expansion. Redirecting energy doesn't mean ignoring your pain or pretending you're fine. It means using the space he left behind as an opportunity to fill your life with things that make you stronger, fuller, more alive. Think about how much you gave to him, the effort, the sacrifices, the late nights you stayed up to make things work. Imagine what happens if you take that same level of intensity and focus it on yourself. Imagine if you used that energy to push your career forward, to build new friendships, to travel, to create, to learn skills you've always wanted. Instead of pouring yourself into someone who didn't value it, you start pouring into a life that's built entirely for you. One of the mistakes people make is waiting until they feel better to start living again. They think healing has to happen first, and then they can go out and chase their goals. But the opposite is true. Healing happens through action. You heal by proving to yourself that your world doesn't revolve around him. You heal by showing yourself that you are capable of thriving on your own, that your happiness isn't tied to who stays or who leaves. Redirecting your energy is the practical step that transforms heartbreak into growth. This is also how you prevent him from haunting your life. If you don't actively redirect your energy, the void he left will suck you back into thinking about him. That's why people obsess, because they don't replace what's missing with something meaningful. But when you fill your days with new experiences, when you get lost in hobbies that excite you, when you surround yourself with people who make you laugh until your stomach hurts, there's no room left for him. He gets erased not because you forced yourself to forget, but because you simply created so much fullness that his absence stopped mattering. And here's the irony. The very energy you once gave to him is the same energy that will turn you into the version of yourself he'll never get to know. The more you invest in yourself, the more magnetic, confident, and unstoppable you become. And while he may not see it, while he may not even be around to witness it, that doesn't matter. Because the true point of redirecting your energy isn't to make him regret, it's to make you proud. It's to look at yourself and realize that losing him didn't break you, it elevated you. Redirecting energy also shifts your mindset from scarcity to abundance. Instead of clinging to what you lost, you begin to see how much more there is to gain. You stop focusing on the one person who walked away and start recognizing the countless opportunities waiting for you. That shift changes everything, because the moment you stop asking, "Why did he leave?" and start asking, "What can I build now that he's gone?" is the moment you step into a new chapter that has nothing to do with him. So take all that energy, the late night thoughts, the endless questions, the pain that keeps you awake, and redirect it. Put it into your passions, your growth, your future. Don't waste it keeping him alive in your memory. Use it to create a life so rich, so exciting, so fulfilling, that his absence feels like nothing more than a small detour on your journey. Because the truth is, the best way to erase him completely is not by trying to forget, but by becoming so consumed with your own expansion that forgetting is the natural outcome. The final stage of erasing someone isn't deleting pictures, blocking numbers, or even distracting yourself with new routines. Those steps are important, but the real victory comes when you reach a place of emotional indifference. That's when his name doesn't sting anymore, when hearing about him doesn't trigger a reaction, when the thought of him is no different than remembering a stranger you once passed on the street. Because true closure isn't about revenge, and it isn't about proving anything to him. It's about reclaiming your peace to the point where he no longer holds any emotional weight in your life. That's the moment you know he's truly gone, not just from your world, but from your heart. Indifference is powerful because it's not forced. Hate, anger, or bitterness still tie you to him. They keep you emotionally engaged, even if it's in a negative way. That's why revenge fantasies or constantly thinking, "One day he'll regret losing me," don't actually free you. They keep you in orbit around his existence. But when you arrive at indifference, you step out of that orbit completely. You no longer revolve around him because he's no longer a factor in your life. His choices, his actions, his relationships, none of it touches you anymore. You stop needing to know, stop needing to analyze, stop needing to care, and that's where your power truly lies. Getting to indifference doesn't happen overnight. At first, you will feel everything: sadness, anger, confusion, maybe even longing. That's natural, and you shouldn't shame yourself for it. But the key is not to stay there. Every time you resist the urge to check on him, every time you stop yourself from replaying a memory, every time you choose to redirect your energy into something that serves you, you're training yourself to detach. Slowly, the emotions lose their grip. Slowly, the thoughts of him fade. And eventually, you wake up one day and realize you didn't think about him at all yesterday. And that realization feels like freedom. The beauty of indifference is that it gives you back control. As long as you care, he still has influence over you. He can hurt you by what he does or doesn't do, by what you hear about him, by how you imagine his life going without you. But once you stop caring, none of it matters anymore. You're untouchable. His successes don't diminish you. His failures don't excite you. His absence doesn't wound you. He simply ceases to exist in the emotional landscape of your life. And that's the cleanest erasure of all. Think about how much lighter your life feels when you stop carrying someone who isn't meant to be there. All the mental energy you used to waste on him gets freed up for you. You start noticing new opportunities, new connections, new joys, because your focus isn't stuck in the past anymore. Indifference isn't coldness, it's clarity. It's the clarity of knowing that your story is moving forward, and he's no longer part of the plot. And here's the irony: indifference is often the one thing people like him never expect. They expect you to be angry, to miss them, to care forever. They expect to always have some kind of hold over you, but when you let go so completely that they don't even occupy your thoughts, that's when they feel the weight of their loss the most. Not because you tried to make them regret it, but because you stopped giving them any power at all. Erasing him completely doesn't mean you deny that he existed. It means you deny him influence over your present or your future. You allow the chapter to close without rereading it. You move forward with a heart that no longer flinches at his name. And in that silence, in that freedom, in that beautiful indifference, you finally understand what it means to be completely healed. When someone walks out of your life, the temptation is to keep them alive in your thoughts, in your habits, in your memories, as if keeping them there will give you comfort or closure. But the truth is, the longer you hold on, the longer you delay your own healing. Erasing him completely isn't about being heartless. It's about being free. It's about choosing peace over pain, growth over stagnation, and power over attachment. You are not defined by who left you or who failed to see your worth. You are defined by how you rise, how you reclaim your life, and how you build something stronger out of the pieces they couldn't break. So when he's out of your life, let him stay there. Shut the doors, close the windows, and stop looking back. He doesn't get to live rent free in your heart, and he doesn't get to dictate your future. You deserve love that uplifts you, not love that drains you. And the moment you stop carrying his ghost, you create the space for that love from yourself, from your life, and one day, from someone who actually deserves you. The real victory isn't proving he lost you. The real victory is realizing you no longer need him at all. That's when you've truly erased him. That's when you're free.